Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is the procedure for the election of the President of India. My lesson plan includes why is it in the news, introduction, qualification for being elected as the President of India, procedure for election, nomination, voting, grounds for the rejection of the ballot papers, counting of votes, deciding the winner, why is the president elected indirectly, how does the office of the president become vacant, and finally conclusion. So under these headings I would like to cover my lecture. I hope that you may like this topic. If you like my lecture on this topic, please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy Indore. This is free channel. I hope you will get benefit out of this lecture. So now let us start the proceeding. Friends, why is it in the news? As you know that a new president will have to be elected before 25th July this year, because the tenure of the incumbent president is to complete by 25th July 2022. Now election will be held for the 16th time and the 15th president would be sworn in on 25th July. Why I am telling this? Because Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the only president who was elected twice, and that's why although election are held on regular basis, but the incumbent president would be the 15th president would be sworn in on the 15th July. Now, except Rajendra Prasad, no other president of India could get elected twice. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan was vice president for 2 terms and president for 1 term. Only in the election of V.V. Giri, the second preference votes were counted. Otherwise, in all elections of presidents, the first preference votes were the deciding factor. Now, Neelam Sanjeev Reddy was only the president who got elected unopposed in 1977 during the period of Janata Party government. So Sri Narayanan was the first Dalit president of India. Srimati Pratibha Patil was the first woman president. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was the first president who was a scientist and unmarried. Again, the present incumbent president, Sri Ramnath Kovind, is the second Dalit president who cleared UPSC examination but did not join Indian Revenue Service. So, these were important points to be noted regarding different presidents of India, and questions are asked on these points. Now, introduction. Friends, as you know that unlike first post-pass system, the presidential election is quite different, and I will discuss later on. In our democracy, what we find that people are elected, and even one single vote is a deciding factor in the first post-pass system. Whoever gets maximum vote is stood elected. But in the presidential election, there are certain other provision, and this provision is the president is elected on the basis of the proportional representation by single transferable vote. And I will discuss it in later on. Now president is elected by the members of an electoral college consisting of the elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and elected members of state assemblies and union territories. Friends, we must be clear here that you know that 12 members are nominated by President of India as the Rajya Sabha member. Those who have earned reputation as scientists or in the field of art or in social field or cultural activities, they are nominated as a member of Rajya Sabha, and the total number of the nominated members are 12. But these nominated members do not participate in the election of the President of India. Only the elected members can participate. Now, similarly, as regards state assemblies, only elected members can participate in the presidential election. Nominated members are debarred. Secondly, there is no role for the members of Legislative Council in India. So you see that those members who are MLCs, they do not take part in the presidential election. Now, since Jammu and Kashmir was reduced from statehood to union territory, but a state assembly was kept intact. However, Legislative Council was abolished. So what you see that in addition to state assemblies, union territories of Delhi, Pondicherry, which is called now Puducherry, and Jammu and Kashmir, because these three union territories have legislative assemblies. So members of legislative assembly of these three union territories also take part in presidential election in India. Now before proceeding the procedure regarding election of president, we must know that who can be the president of India. What are the qualifications that has been fixed for becoming the president of India? Number one, he must be a citizen of India. Number two, he must have completed 35 years of age. Number three, he must have qualification to become the member of Lok Sabha. Number four, he must not hold any office of profit under Government of India or state government, but a sitting president or vice president of India or governor of a state or ministers in central government and state governments are entitled to stand in the presidential election if they desire so. So there cannot be disqualification. A sitting president can also again stand in the election. A sitting vice president of India can also stand in the election for president. And in our constitution, there is no provision as to how many terms a president can be get elected. Friends, as you know that in America, USA, president can be elected for 2 terms and each term has 4 years tenure. So in total, a president in America can hold his post for 8 years in maximum. But in our country, there is no provision as to how many times a president or a vice president can be elected for the post of president or vice president. So another important condition is that in order to stand in the presidential election, a candidate must have the support of 50 proposers and 50 seconders for the presidential candidate. Friends, as you know that in our original constitution, there was no such provision. But when election commission saw that so many non-serious candidates stand in the presidential election, thereby causing lot of problems, so now a provision has been inserted into our constitution whereby 50 proposers and 50 seconders from the electoral college, from not outside, but from the electoral college consisting of the members of parliament and state assemblies or union territories, they must have support of 50 proposers and 50 seconders. Secondly, he must deposit 15,000 rupees as a security money and must get 1/6 of the total votes cast, failing which security deposit would be seized. Now I switch over to another point, that is procedure for election. Friends, as you know that under Article 55, there is a procedure and this article provides for the formula of uniformity in the scale of representation of different states by incorporating the method of proportional representation by single transferable vote. For the population, the 1971 census is taken into account. For example, suppose the population of Bihar is by 230 divided by 1000, then it will be equal to 1000. Now it will be cut. 6,000 by 23 equal to 23. we will have to divide by 23 and equal to 2, 46, 14, which 6, 2, 260. So what you see that 260 will be the value of votes of one MLA. Now total number of votes of an MP is total number of votes as assigned to all elected MLAs, and it had to be divided by total number of elected MPs. And by this formula we get the value of one vote of an MP. Friends, you must know that the value of the vote of an MP for Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha is equal. So by this formula we get the total value of the votes of an MP of Parliament. Now this is the chart by which you can see how the total value of each MLA has been derived. Now you see that in our constitution population has been given very much importance, and so you see that in Uttar Pradesh, since it is the largest state in India in terms of population, the value of a vote of an MLA of UP is 208 by the formula of total population by divided by the total member of total elected members of a state assembly, and you know that it is 403, and divided by 1000. By this formula we get the total value of the votes of one MLA is 208, but we find that different state has different values for the votes of an MLA. For example, in Punjab it is 116, for Rajasthan it is 129, for Maharashtra it is 175, Kerala 152, for Uttarakhand it is only 64, and for Sikkim it is only 7 because of its small size of the population. So we see that every state has different value of votes for an MLA. Now as per the present strength of different parties in parliament and state assemblies, what you find that the National Democratic Alliance share in MP votes in parliament, what you see, this chart shows that this is the total vote 5,49,408. The total value of MPs of parliament, I mean all together Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha is 5,49,408. 49,408. Now the share of the value of votes for NDA is 3,23,500 3,23,556. So we see that the balance is in favor of NDA parties, National Democratic Alliance, and by bifurcating, we see that out of the total votes of MPs of Rajya Sabha, it is 1,64,964, and out of which 84,960 votes are for NDAs. Now for Lok Sabha, it is the total for Lok Sabha, for NDA it is 2,38,596, and the total votes are 3,84,444. So we see that out of the total votes of 3,84,444, the share of votes for NDA is 2,38,596. So we see that in both houses of parliament, the balance is tilted towards NDA. Now, NDA's share in the total votes, we see that the chart shows the number of votes for all MPs and MLAs and the number of votes of MPs and MLA in the NDA can secure. If all the MPs and MLA vote a total of 10,98,903 votes can be cast. Of these, the MPs and MLAs in the NDA can secure 5,39,827 votes. The MPs, the majority mark is around 5,49,452. So 9,624 votes more majority more. So what you see that the total, if all MPs and MLAs vote on before 25th July, the value of votes would be 10,98,903, and out of this you see that there is a quota system whereby you see that total vote cast by 2 plus 1. So this is the formula, and by this formula we see that 10,98,903 by 2 plus 1. So you see that the half mark will be 5,49,452 and plus 1. This means 5,49,453. The candidate who gets 5,49,453 votes would be elected as the President of India. So what you see that now the share of vote for NDA is 5,39,827. So by this calculation, the NDA candidate for presidential election will have to garner more than 10,000 additional votes to be elected as the President of India. Now NDA's share in MLA's vote friends, you see this chart so that number of votes for all MLAs in each state and the number of votes MLAs in NDA can secure. For instance, in UP, if all the MLA vote, a total of 83,824 votes can be cast. Of these, the MLA in NDA can secure 56,784 votes. So, we see that the total NDA votes in a state is 2,16,271 out of the total votes of 5,49,495. Friend, as you know that by this formula, it has been made that the total value of votes for the elected members of parliament and the total value of votes of elected MLAs of different state assemblies and union territory should be as much as possible be equal. So what you see here, the total vote cast, the value of votes would be 5,49,495 for total MLAs. Now this is a chart that will show that the share of NDA in every state, and we see that how NDA has preponderance over other parties. For example, we see in Gujarat, what you see that the total vote is 30,130, and now out of this, it has 17,161 votes. So this chart will show that how much NDA coalition is in the commanding position, and in the presidential election, whoever will be the nominee of NDA, it would have the 99% chance to get elected. Now the process of election, number one, nomination. A candidate for presidency will have to muster the support of 50 proposers and 50 seconders from the electoral college. Secondly, parties cannot issue whips for the presidential election. Why? Because the election is held on the basis of secret ballot, and Anti-Defection Act cannot be applicable in the presidential election of India. Now candidate will have to deposit 15,000 rupees as security deposit, security money. He will have to get at least 1/6 of the total vote cast, failing which his security deposit will be seized. Now voting. Friends, as you see that all elected MLAs and MPs are given the ballot papers to cast their votes. They can cast vote in Parliament House and in their respective states. But if they are in other state, or for example, if they are not in their own state, they will have to give 10 days prior notice to RO. Now special pens are also provided. Each ballot paper contains the name of all candidates. The electors will have to indicate their preference to each candidate, like 1, 2, 3. Electors have to mark only first preference, that is mandatory. They may not give second preference, third preference or fourth preference. Grounds for the rejection of ballot papers. Friends, as you know that returning officers shall reject the ballot papers as invalid on the following grounds. Number one, the figure 1 is not marked. The preference 1, and it should be written like 1, 2, 3, not in words. So the figure 1 is not marked and 1 first preference is must on the ballot paper. Otherwise, that ballot paper will be rejected. Secondly, the figure 1 is marked against more than one candidate. For example, there are 4 candidates and the elector mark 1 on every candidate, A, B, C, D. Then this ballot paper will stand rejected. If the preference is marked as 1, 2 and 3 instead of 1, 2 and 3. So you will have to write in numbers, not in words. Again, a postal ballot. It may be possible that a elector might have been arrested and he might have been put into jail, or he might have been arrested under preventive detention. So in that case, he will use postal ballot paper provided by RO, returning officer, and that postal ballot must be duly attested by the authority specified in the such form. And suppose an elector or an MP or MLA is inside the jail, the authority will be the jailer, superintendent of jail. So his authentication on the postal ballot is must. Otherwise, postal ballot paper would stand cancelled. Counting of votes. Total number of votes that a presidential candidate garner is calculated by adding up the value of all the ballots in which a particular candidate receives a first preference. The value of each ballot paper depends upon who casts the vote. The ballot paper of a UP MLA will be value 208 and MLA of Sikkim will be only 7. But the value of votes for an MP of either Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha would be 708. Now deciding the winner. The winner is decided by adding up the votes poll of each candidate, dividing the sum by 2 and adding 1 to the quotient. So for example, the total value of votes is 11 lakh. Now it has to be divided by 2. It means 5,50,000 and plus 1. So 5,50,001. The candidate who gets 5,50,001 vote will stand elected. So this is the formula. Now, if the winner is not decided on the basis of first preference, then what will be the process? In case no one gets more votes, so then the candidate with the lowest votes gets eliminated, and his votes, the eliminated candidate ballot papers are distributed between the remaining hopefuls based upon the second preference choices. The process of counting the total votes of each candidate is repeated to see if anyone polls above the quota, I mean 5,50,001 votes. The process continues until someone votes tally up more than the quota, until just one candidate left after the constant elimination. That person is elected as the President of India. So friends, this is the process of election. Now, why is the president elected indirectly? Friends, as you know that ours is a parliamentary form of government and President is the constitutional head of the state. He is the nominal head. Like the British monarch, President of India is also nominal head of the state. The real power is exercised by the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. So, the real power is vested in the cabinet headed by the Prime Minister. So, direct election would have the chances, would have caused unnecessary expenditure. Again, there was a likely possibility of the confrontation between the directly elected president and directly elected government of the day. Now, proportional representation by single transferable votes consisting of MPs and MLAs makes the election of the President of India broad-based and makes him representative of all. He is not the representative of only the ruling government at the center, but representative of all. Now, a party which is in majority in parliament may not have the majority in different states. So what you see that, so without the support of other parties, the ruling party cannot get its nominee elected. So by this method of proportional representation, it has been made the election of president as broad-based to represent all sections of society. How does the office of the president become vacant? Friends, on the completion of 5 years terms, secondly by his death, third by his resignation, removal by impeachment, the setting aside of the election by the Supreme Court of India. Friends, as you know that the dispute relating to the election of president and vice president is only decided by the Supreme Court of India. So in case of any malpractices found in the election process, Supreme Court is entitled to set aside the election of the president and vice president of India. No other authority has the power to do so. Again, president can also be removed by the process of impeachment, and for this process it will have to give notice of prior 14 days notice, and then the notice must be supported by 100 MPs of Lok Sabha and 50 MPs of Rajya Sabha. And so once the notice of impeachment is received by a speaker, he will cause the accusation against the President of India examined by a committee, and after its finding, if found true, then that motion will be put into Lok Sabha for debate and discussion, and if that impeachment motion is passed by 2/3 majority and absolute majority of Lok Sabha, then that impeachment motion will be sent to Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha again will constitute an inquiry on the allegations or accusations against the incumbent President of India, and then the debate and discussion will take place, and if passed by 2/3 majority plus the absolute majority of that house, it means that the impeachment motion stand passed and the president would be removed from his post. So this is the process of impeachment. However, it is very difficult process, but there is a provision for the impeachment of President of India in case of proved misbehavior and incapacity. There are two terms written in our constitution, and that is proved misbehavior and incapacity. On both grounds, President of India can be impeached. So friends, now conclusion. What conclusion we derived from this lecture? Number one, the process of election is intended to make the President of India as the representative of not only of the union but also the states. This is in keeping with the federal character of our Indian polity. So, President represents not only the ruling party at the center, but he is the representative of all sections of society, all other state governments who are opposed to the central government. So friends, if you like my lecture, please share and subscribe. This is free channel AJ IS Academy. Just type AJ IS Academy on YouTube and Facebook page. You will get numerous videos relating to Constitution of India, Indian history, geography, Indian economy, general science, general mathematics and logical reasoning. So you need not go anywhere. Just subscribe. Thank you very much.